Chapter 61.
Hey, Lance, come here.
My cousin yelled from downstairs. I groggily sat up and rubbed my face. What does he want? I pulled myself out of bed, wearing nothing but my boxers. When I glanced over at the clock, I let out a loud groan. It was only 6:16 a.m. That is too freaking early. I reluctantly made myself pull on some pants and a t-shirt, and after some self-complaining, I left the guest bedroom and walked down the stairs. Upon reaching the ground floor, I was greeted by my cousin, who had a smug look on his face.
Morning,
He said, a smile still upon his face. I let out a sigh.
Yeah, what do you want?
He opened the front door.
Me and James have something we want to show you.
He then motioned for me to walk through said door. I rubbed my face and did exactly that.
I'm going.
When we entered the pasture, I saw James standing next to a large black stallion. James looked at me, and a devilish smile slowly grew upon his face. So, Lance. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a phone. Wait, that's my phone!
We heard you liked My Little Pony.
My eyes widened, and my hand shot into my right pocket, only to find it empty. How did they get my phone? Before I could say or do anything, Robert, my other cousin, grabbed me from behind and held my arms behind my back. I tried to break free, but I wasn't strong enough. It was useless to even bother trying, for that matter, as he was so much stronger than me due to the daily farm work that he has to do. James began to laugh as he made his way over to us, followed by the large stallion. I awoke with a start and sat straight up. I could feel sweat all over my body. There was so much of it that it was practically dripping off of my face. I hate reliving that accursed moment, but my mind just won't let me forget about it.
Oh, God. I hate reliving that every single night. You and me both. It was horrible.
I took a few ragged breaths and looked around the room. It was almost pitch black here, but there was a little bit of light coming through the heavy curtains. It gave the room a peaceful feeling, almost. I looked over to the bed to see Twilight sleeping peacefully, Spark laying next to her in a bundle of blankets. I had let Twilight have the bed so that there would be enough room for Spark to sleep. I took the couch, the very, very uncomfortable couch. It's been 4 days since Spark was born, and we're still at the resort. We couldn't leave when we were supposed to, because the train was on a schedule, so we would have to wait for it to come back. Luckily, today is the last day we would have to be here. We'll all be returning home, but with 2 new additions, Shadow Breeze and Venetian. They both decided to come back with us, but I'm not completely sure why. We all decided that they could stay at Drax's until they got a place of their own. I chuckled, but then I remembered the dream. I then put my face into my hooves, content on trying to forget about it, like I've been doing for almost every single night since the incident.
Lance, what's wrong?
I heard Twilight say, a touch of concern left in her voice. I looked over to see her sitting up in bed, but I wasn't able to see her facial expression because of the damn darkness.
Yeah, I'm great.
I said, feeling slightly embarrassed. What? That damn memory is still fresh in my mind. I saw her shake her head.
Oh, Lance, you're a terrible liar.
I let out a small chuckle.
I know, Twi.
She slowly climbed out of bed and came to my side. She then sat down and took my hoof in hers.
So, what's wrong?
I can't tell you. It's something I've never told anyone before.
She nuzzled my neck comfortingly.
Can you tell me?
I sighed softly.
I want to, but I cannot. I can't make myself talk about it.
Can you try to tell me, please?
This was new. I mean, the sitting in the lap thing. I wrapped my hooves around her.
I'll give it a try. 2 years ago, I went to my grandparents' farm. I liked it. I mean, it was a nice place to relax, but it was so stressful. My 2 cousins, James and Robert, were always just trying to hurt me. And when I say hurt, I don't mean like joking hurt. I mean really hurt me. They never liked me, and I have no idea why, but one day they called me out into the pasture and...
I stopped talking. I just couldn't go on. I had tears in my eyes from just trying to think about that moment. Twilight noticed this and rubbed my cheek with her hoof.
It's okay, Lance. You don't have to tell me.
I gulped softly.
I want to tell you. I just can't make myself.
She sat back slightly and tapped her chin.
I may have an idea, but you have to be okay with it.
I nodded in approval.
What's the idea?
She looked at me and I could see her smile grow.
Well, I know a spell that will allow me to see your memories.
I furrowed my brows a bit nervously.
That is not a good idea.
She cocked her head in confusion.
Why not?
I thought for a second.
Well, for starters, there's things that I don't think you should know about. Yeah, Rule 34. Quiet, pervert! And the memory is kinda... how do I say this? Mortifying. Absolutely disgustingly mortifying. That's the best I can describe it as.
Twilight rubbed her nose against mine lovingly and rested her head on my shoulder.
Lance, I can handle anything you have to offer. Trust me, I've been around you after all.
I laughed softly to myself. She has a point there.
Okay, Twi. I'll let you do the spell.
She, in delight, but quickly covered her mouth, looking at the bed. Spark was still asleep. Good. I shifted Twilight around a little in my lap.
What will this spell do exactly?
She thought for a second.
The book said it would allow both of us to see your memories. I don't know the full details, but it's safe.
Sounds legit.
I began to rub her back.
Alright, you can cast the spell whenever you're ready.
She smiled and gave me a peck on the cheek. Her horn then began to glow a soft purple, and after a few seconds, she touched it to my forehead. I felt a small stinging in the point of impact, then I just passed out. Seconds later, I opened my eyes to see whiteness. Twilight looked up at me. We were still in the exact same position.
Wow, your mind is so... empty.
I rolled my eyes.
Oh, ha ha ha. Have your fun, Twi. Yo, when you two are done, I'd like to talk to you.
Said a...
Said a all too...
Yeah, that should be Anne. Said an all too familiar voice from behind us. I twisted my head around to see both Brake and Dawn standing next to each other, a small computer-like device behind them. I smiled.
Well, how are you two here?
Dawn chuckled.
Dude, you're in your head. And we're always in your head.
Brake nodded.
I thought you would be smart enough to know this. I guess not.
Dawn slugged him in the shoulder with his hoof.
Be nice!
I let out a small laugh and stood, followed by Twilight.
Oh, you two.
Twilight was looking at them with a strange look.
These are your consciences?
I nodded.
Yeah, cool, huh?
Brake smiled cockily.
Damn right it's cool.
What's that thing?
Dawn turned to the object.
That? Oh, it's just Lance's memory.
I shook my head and chuckled.
How convenient.
Brake looked at me.
I know, right?
Twilight took a step forward, curious as to what could be inside this strange device.
Can I look through it?
I held up a hoof protectively.
Nope. I'm gonna look through it first. I don't want you to get into anything bad.
Brake smirked.
Hey, Twi, you want to see something we call porn?
Twilight cocked her head curiously.
Porn? What's that?
My eyes widened.
Break. Don't you do it, asshole. And don't worry about that, Twi.
I then looked at Dawn.
So, can I?
He nodded and stepped to the side.
It's your mind. You're the boss.
Brake rolled his eyes.
Not the boss of me, though.
I chuckled at him as I walked past and stepped in front of the computer-like object. Twilight stood to my right and Dawn to my left. I looked it over.
So, how do I work this thing?
He touched the screen and it came to life. Once it was on, there was a long list of words on the screen.
All you need to do is pick the one you want, and it'll cause everyone here to relive that memory.
I nodded and smiled.
Now that is awesome.
I began to scroll down the list, and I must say, wow, there is a ton of categories here. Twilight stopped me from scrolling and pointed to one.
What's that one?
I looked at the one she was pointing at and shook my head.
We are not, I repeat, not going to open that.
The one she had pointed at was, quote-unquote, alone time. I didn't have to be a genius to know what that one was talking about. Brake leaned over me.
Oh, we're clicking on that one.
Before I could stop him, he selected the category. I suddenly began to remember with vivid detail all the moments I had... you know. When it was over, Twilight had a shocked look on her face. I let out a weak chuckle.
I told you we didn't want to see that one.
I turned to Brake and mouthed,
Fuck you.
He smiled.
Time and place, Lance. Time and place.
I rolled my eyes and looked back at Twilight.
Are you okay?
She slowly nodded.
That was awkward.
I chuckled softly.
You have no idea.
We continued to scroll through them, clicking on a few here and there. After a good 40 minutes or so, I finally came to one entitled Farm Nightmare. That has got to be it. Twilight looked at it and then to me.
That's it, isn't it?
I slowly nodded.
Yeah. Are you sure you want to see this?
She bit her bottom lip.
Yeah, I think I'm ready.
I took a deep breath and clicked it. I relived that entire ordeal, from beginning to end. It was even worse the second time. Oh God, that stallion was huge. James and Robert are sick bastards. After it ended, Twilight was in a state of shock.
They did that to you?
I nodded grimly.
Yes.
Don was in the fetal position, mumbling to himself. But Brake was somehow just keeping his cool. But nonetheless, I could tell that he was stressed after reliving something like that. I patted Twilight's back.
You sure you're okay?
She nodded.
I'm sure it's just... that was horrible.
I pulled her into a hug.
I know.
Her horn glowed and everything began to fade away. As soon as we were back in the hotel room, we were still in each other's embrace. And Twilight looked up at me with sad eyes.
Lance, I'm so sorry you had to go through that.
I leaned down and nuzzled her cheek.
It's okay. I kinda feel better after living it, even if it was... God. Awful. Ugh.
She tilted her head to the side again.
Why? I thought you would need to talk about it.
I shrugged.
I may need to talk about it one day, but for now, I am not going to.
I looked around and sighed.
Should we start packing?
She sighed as well.
I guess.
We then jumped off the couch and began gathering our clothes. Only 2 more hours before the train gets here, and I cannot wait. I am so sick of the cold.
Yeah, so... ending now.
Twilight let go of my hoof and climbed into my lap, and oh my God, let me tell you, this was just the hottest moment of my life.
You could not begin to imagine the size of Gray's boner when he read that line. He was going to have to replace his fucking computer. It just shot up between his legs,
smashed hit
his tower, and he cringed from the electricity coursing through his body.
It was like a freaking vibrator in my stomach with a million other vibrators around my freaking bones. It was the most intense shit of my life.
Alright.
What the hell am I talking about?
That was new. I mean, the
Shut up,
city
shut up,
left.
shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up.
What is that slap sound?
I clapped.
Alright.
Excuse me a minute, I need to have a little bit of fun with that last scene there.
No, I got this, I got this, I
good.
got this. Alright, let's go. Go on.
Okay, what the hell am I doing?